So begin your notes for 7.1 ratios this way, and I hope you can read it because I didn't type it this time. But the title is simply 7.1 ratios. Make sure whatever the date is that you're watching it, you put it on there. And then I want you to write this definition for ratio, a multiplicative comparison of two quantities expressed with the same units. So in this slide that we're looking at, they're showing you visuals of ratios. And in the very first one that they have, there's 4 squares and 4 blue squares and 1 red square. And so you would say that the ratio of blue to red, okay, I want you to write this down. Blue to red is 4 to 1. Okay, there's a little fraction bar right there, 4 to 1. Blue to red is 4 to 1. And I said blue first, so it goes on top. And then you might want to write it like this, 4, or you will write it like this. Please write this too, 4 to 1. And then the other way with the word, 4 to 1. Okay, and then the picture below it has stars and a moon. So I already have that ratio in the fraction set up for you, stars to moon. And I want you to draw a line like that. And we're going to separate that. Do this. I want you to write this down. Stars to moon. So how many stars do we have in the picture? 3. And how many moons? 1. So our ratio is 3 to 1. Now what if we doubled it? Okay, if we double it, so 3 times 2, double that. We're going to take it times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, and so times 2 here. So if you added another moon, you'd have to add 3 more stars. So for every moon that you add onto your bracelet, you have to put on 3 more stars. What if I was on my 10th set, like 10 sets later? What's 3 times 10? 30. That's times 10. So what's 1 times 10? 10. Okay? If you need to watch this little thing again so that you can copy it down, I want you to. So if you take the stars times 20, you take the moons times 20, and that keeps the same ratio. All right, I wanted you to see this part right here. You don't have to write this down. I just want you to see because you've already written the different forms that you can do it. So here we have 5 dogs to 3 cats. Okay, that's the ratio right there, 5 to 3. Notice that dogs is first and then the cats, and then you keep it that way. If you switch it up, it's going to confuse whoever you're giving this information to. 5 dogs to 3 cats. 5 to 3. 5 to 3. That's a little colon. All right, colon. C-O-L-O-N. And then as it looks like a fraction, but it is not. Remember, a ratio is where we're comparing two things. In this case, it's dogs and cats. So it's not a fraction, not a fraction. Exclamation point, because that's important. Now, what if we were talking about the number of pets? What is the ratio of dogs to the number of pets in this story? You have 5 dogs and 3 cats. How many pets is that? And we're going to think they're pets. Maybe they're jaguars and dingoes. 8 pets. Okay, so when you think about a ratio, sometimes you're going to have to figure out what the total is. So if I said dogs to total pets, that would be 5. Let's see. You want to see it in words first. That helps your brain keep it straight. Dogs to pets is 5 to 8. Okay? Well, you don't have to write this down. This is just extra information I'm giving you because you're going to have to do this in a little bit. Okay, let's see what's down here. When you're writing the ratios, sometimes they'll tell you to write it in the 3 different ways. So, bagel chips to peanuts, number 5. So bagel chips, there's 2 cups of bagel chips and 1 cup of peanuts. So that's going to be 2. Remember, bagel chips is first, so you got to put that number first. 2 to 1. And then the other way is 2 to 1. And then the last way is 2 to 1. Total party mix to pretzels. So we have to figure out the total. Remember I told you sometimes you have to figure out the totals. You just add them together. 4 plus 2 is 6, 7, 8. So the total is 8 cups. It's going to be 8 total. You know, they wrote the total first. You got to put that number first. 8, 2, and then how many pretzels are there? In this recipe, there's 4 cups of pretzels. So it's 8 to 4, 8 to 4, and 8 to 4. Now I'm looking at this. I'm like, you know what? 8 and 4 have a common factor that we could simplify that by. If you have 8 to 4, write this down. What can you simplify that by? They have a common factor of 4. So we could also write that that is 2 to 1. Okay, so for every 2 cups of the party mix that you have, you know there's going to be 1 cup of pretzels. That's like the one nobody ever eats, right? The pretzels is always the most, and then everybody leaves those behind, and we pick out this other stuff that tastes better. Okay, cheese crackers to peanuts. Cheese crackers is 1. And peanuts is 1. So our ratio is 1 to 1. So that's pretty equal, huh? 1 to 1. It's exactly equal, 1 to 1. Okay, so if I was making this recipe, I think I would put in extra bagel chips. Okay, I want you to write down this ratio, 2 to 7. I don't know what it represents. They don't tell us, but I want you to write it down. 2 to 7, and I want you to draw this arrow here that says times 2. What do you think it's telling us? It's saying that if you double the numerator, then you're going to double the denominator. And that's the same thing with fractions. You learn that with fractions. Ratios work the same way. Remember though, we're not always talking about a fraction here. We're not talking about 2 out of 7. We're talking about 2 of one thing and 7 of another, unless the 7 is a total. Okay, 8/24. We simplify it by 4 in the numerator, so 8 divided by 4 is 2. We do the same thing in the denominator. 24 divided by 4 is 6. So I want both of these written down, please. A punch recipe makes 5 cups of punch by mixing 3 cups of cranberry juice. Some of you guys are writing down long questions like this, and it's making you take an hour to take notes. Do not write down this problem, please. A punch recipe makes 5 cups of punch by mixing 3 cups of cranberry juice with 2 cups of apple juice. So let's just check that. 3 cups of cranberry juice and 2 cups of apple juice. So if you have 3 plus 2, 3 cups plus 2 cups is how many? 5 cups. All right, so there's your total right there. How much cranberry juice and apple juice do you need to make 4 times the original recipe? Times is a big clue as to what you might have to do. Times. Okay? 4 times the original recipe. So if you take 5 times 4, that's going to give you 20 total cups. So what they did is they drew this table. I want you to draw this table. Copy it down. Be looking for it in your notes. Cranberry juice. Here's the original recipe. original recipe. That's one batch. And if they double it, this is what you get. You have to have 6 cups of cranberry juice and 4 cups of apple juice. And if you triple it, then you're going to have to take 3 times 3. That's 9 cups of cranberry juice and 3 times 2. So that's going to give you 6 cups of apple juice. This is the one that they're asking for. This is quadruple. So take it times 4. 3 times 4 is 12, and 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, so you would need 12 cups of cranberry juice and 8 cups of apple juice. Here's a really good question I want you to consider. Do not write this down. Don't write that down, but we're going to write down the work. The ratio of apple juice to grape juice in a recipe is 8 cups to 10 cups. How can you find the amount of each juice needed if the recipe is cut in half? So this is how you're going to work these. I want you to first write the ratio in words. Okay, so write this with me. Apple juice, we'll just write apple juice, apple to grape is 8 cups to 10 cups. Okay? Notice that apple is first and 8 is first. Okay? And then grape juice is second and 10 is second. That means they belong together. Okay, so the apple belongs to 8, grape belongs to 10, and it's saying, what if it was cut in half? What do you do to show something being cut in half? That is dividing by what? Here's 1/2. When you think about Tebow, what would you divide by? You would divide by 2. So cutting something in half means dividing by 2. And what's 8 divided by 2? 4, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So you would need 4 cups of apple juice and 5 cups of grape juice. Go ahead and write this down. Okay, I want to see this in your notes. All right, let's look at number 6. Write down number 6. The instructions say write 3 equivalent ratios for the given ratio. So you can either multiply or divide. So let's practice first by simplifying 10 to 12. What's a common factor of 10 to 12? 10 and 12. A common factor is, when I look at my T-charts, they both have a 2 in common. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So one of my ratios is 5 to 6. Okay? Now I can double also 10 to 12, and I'm going to take both of them times 2 times 2. So 10 times 2 is 20, and 12 times 2 is 24. There's another one. And besides that, you know what else I could do? This is one that you'll see a lot of. After they simplify it, they'll use that number to write a new ratio, and it'll still be equivalent. So let's take the lowest ratio times 3. So 6 times 3 is 18, and 5 times 3 is 15. Okay, all 3 of these are equivalent to each other. Let's do number 7. What can we simplify it by? We can simplify it by 2. Okay, so we get 7 to 1. Okay, now let's double 14. 14 times 2, 28. And 2 times 2 is 4. Which, you know what? If you took 7 times 4, you would get 28, and 1 times 4, you would get 28. That's just a little thing that you can notice. They're all equal to each other. Now, let's take the original, the 7 to 1, and let's rewrite it. Let's take it times 3. 1 times 3 is 3, and 7 times 3 is 21. So all 3 of these are equivalent. Okay? So if you can simplify it first, simplify it.